You guys ready? Good evening. Good evening. Hey, there we go. That's good. You're a better crowd than the others. It usually takes 3 or 4 times with the other crowd, so you're exceptional tonight. Today is August 20th, 2018, and we are honored that you have set some time aside in your busy schedule to spend that with us, and we don't take that lightly. It's been the tradition of this board and boards all across the country for a long, long time that we begin with some traditions. One is we're going to have a prayer. It's called a solemnizing prayer. And that prayer is for the commissioners because we don't take lightly our responsibility, and we need all the help and wisdom that we can muster. And so this is a time for us to focus and to center ourselves to go about the business of doing the business of the county. So we'll have our chaplain come forward. After that, we'll have a pledge. So commissioners, if you'll join me, we'll get started.
Lord, we come to you this afternoon in behalf of this meeting tonight. We do thank you for our county commissioners and their elected positions they have, Lord, and the love they have for this county. And I pray that you give them the wisdom they need tonight, and any decision need to be made. And within our audience tonight, Lord, you just guide and lead there also, Lord. And we thank you for the privilege that we have, Lord, to be able to call upon your name, Lord. We thank you, Lord, for Rowan County, Lord, and we thank you for the blessings you bestow upon us, Lord. And we pray you guide and lead us tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Chaplain Taylor. It's good to see you, as always. Let me start by saying our clerk has been so busy right up to the meeting that the sign-up sheet for public comment just made it out. So please feel free to sign up for any public comment you may have. Is there anyone? We're not talking about the public comment during the issues that we'll be going through, the hearings today. But if there's anyone that would like to sign up for public comment, then that's out there. Is there anyone who wants to do that? Okay. All right, well then, good. Commissioners, any additions or deletions from the agenda? All right, do we have a motion to approve the agenda as provided?
So moved.
And a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, we have the minutes from August 6th were provided for us. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
And a second. All in favor, say aye. Thank you. All right, then we have the consent agenda. Items A through I have been provided for us. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Doesn't appear we have anyone for public comment. Last call. Anyone? Anyone? All right, we'll move on. Then we have some special recognition tonight. I'd like to call forward our good sheriff, the fearless, Kevin Otten.
The fearless would be the ones that work for us.
Yes.
Well, it's an honor to be before you tonight, and it's an award that we want to present that we didn't want to do in a staff meeting at the sheriff's office, but we want to recognize one of our employees, and we got him here under the ruse that he's presenting, and he has a talk prepared if you want to hear what he wanted to talk about. But and he told me in the back he just figured out we've been lying to him all day. So, but I want to recognize one of ours for the Sheriff's Star, which is the highest award we offer at the Rowan County Sheriff's Office. Detective Stoner is back there. I'll have you stand up, Steve. We're not going to have him come up. He serves in an undercover capacity, and with the cameras rolling, we want to leave him back there. This award is reserved for the officer who endures the most unusually difficult and dangerous conditions and whose actions preserve life or apprehend particularly dangerous individuals. It's the first time I've ever presented this award as the sheriff, and I'm digging deep to see the last time we did offer this award. On August 29, 2017, detectives from the Rowan County Sheriff's Office Special Investigative Unit were performing an undercover operation in which Detective Stephen Ralph Stoner Jr. was acting as the undercover officer. Detective Stoner was to meet an individual to buy an ounce of methamphetamine. Upon arrival, Detective Stoner was instructed to get in the suspect's vehicle, where he found 3 occupants. During the initial minute of the operation, one of the suspects pulled a handgun from his waistband and pointed it at Detective Stoner's side. Detective Stoner tried to get out of the car, but was unable to the condition of the door of the car. Another suspect began to frisk Detective Stoner and ultimately found his service handgun. The suspect took the weapon, pointed it at Detective Stoner's face, and instructed the driver to drive off in an attempt to either kidnap and or possibly kill Detective Stoner. Other units became aware of the situation and surrounded the suspect vehicle. The suspect with the gun to Detective Stoner's face dropped the weapon. Detective Stoner picked it up, pointed it at the suspect beside him, and began to pull the trigger. In the split second it took to pull the trigger, Detective Stoner felt the gun drop from his side and then let off of his own trigger. Detective Stoner then held the suspect until other units could assist. Detective Stoner's life was in imminent danger, with 2 weapons being pointed at him from point-blank range inside a vehicle with 3 hostile suspects. He remained calm, continued to think through the situation, and ultimately found an opportunity to take control of the situation. With significant legal right and justification to shoot at least one of the suspects in the vehicle, Detective Stoner's experience, training, and moral code dictated that he refrain from deadly force and thereby sparing the life of at least one person that day. His actions showed unusual determination, valor, initiative, skill, and professionalism. For this reason, I'm honored to present the Sheriff's Star to Detective Stephen Ralph Stoner, Jr. I also handed to him in a tube his advanced sheriff certificate, which I'm sure he'll be happy. That's a 4% raise, unlike the award we just gave him. But, you know, in today's world, if he'd had to pull that trigger, no matter how justified he was, who knows what our community would have acted like. It's a blessing that it turned out the way it did, and we're thankful ultimately that our detective's healthy and okay. Thank y'all for letting me present.
Thank you, Sheriff. You know, we've not had this since any of us have been in office, so I'd like to give a few minutes for commissioners to comment. I know that we read the paper and it seems like the world's getting crazier by the minute. There are jobs in this community that I could not do, and how these men and women are able to do what they do every day, walk out of their home, kiss their husbands and wives and leave their children, and frankly not know if they'll make it back that night. My mind cannot comprehend. These folks are unbelievably brave, but more than that, they love their community and want what is best for this community. We as commissioners get emails that are even more detailed, and it just makes us shake our head even more. So, Detective, to you and to the rest of you, your family, for the sacrifices that they make as you leave every day, for your comrades and your leadership and those who you lead, we give our highest honor. We say thank you from the depths of our heart for what all of you do every day, and we mean that as sincerely as we can. You have great leadership, and the sheriff who has the respect and admiration of this board and also this entire community. So to you, to our fire folks, to our sheriff deputies, folks who work in the offices, our municipal police, first responders, what you do is amazing to us. So anyone else like to comment?
Mr. Chairman, I know I'm out of order, but I'd like to say this.
I don't think I have authority to rule you out of order.
That's why it's so important that our community participate in the Shield of Badge Prayer Program. It's through the prayers of the people of this county to pray for our officers. And I thank God for the privilege to pray for Brother Stoner there and all the other officers. And I know it makes a difference. And that's why I encourage everybody in the community to participate in the Shield Badge Prayer Program, because these men and women risk their lives every day to keep us safe. And that's why I do what I do, because I love law enforcement officers, and I appreciate the privilege and opportunity that the sheriff gives me to be the chaplain and to have the Shield Badge Prayer Program. So I want to encourage all the folks, if they don't participate in that program, do it. It's just a simple program to pray for an officer every day for a year's time and send them a birthday card, a Christmas card on their birthday, just to let them know we appreciate them. And I thank you for letting me say this, because it's a privilege and joy to do what I do and to take time to pray. That's what we got to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaplain. I know you're not very passionate about that, so I thought I'd let you get a little worked up. We're a little ways into our agenda now, but I want to go back and welcome a few folks, and I'll probably miss some folks. I do want to recognize Mr. Effie Eisenhower is here. He's the manager of the good town of East Spencer. We're honored to have you here tonight. We also have Rod Kreider and Scott Shelton from our EDC. Always good to see you guys. If you're here, that means something good sniffing around. So you might want to come when you don't have anything on the agenda just to throw us off. Ms. Derry Caldwell is here, and she'll be coming up next. She is the head honcho of Novant Rowan Medical Center, and she is next for a presentation. Derry?
Hi. Thank you. And I'd like to ask Alyssa Smith if she would join me. Alyssa is the executive director of our Healthy Rowan. And what we have is something wonderful tonight, and that is that we have the opportunity to present to our county commissioners the annual Corporate Cup. Now, I'll tell you just for a minute what the Corporate Cup is. In 2015, we initiated the Corporate Cup from the Chamber of Commerce, and it is a trophy. You see it here. And this is to commemorate the organization that in that year did the most, according to our judges at the Chamber of Commerce, to improve the health of our community. And this year, the county commissioners were chosen to receive this award due to the work that you all did to help us get our parks with a tobacco-free park status. And I know that Alyssa and I met with each one of you and pleaded our case, and we appreciated the fact that there was a unanimous vote, and Rowan County is now proud to be a healthy community with two tobacco-free parks, and so thank you very much. And you want to take it over and give it to Commissioner Eds?
Sure. All right, she'll present it for us out. I guess it's picture time. Can I wear your hat?
Thank you.
Opportunity to get out of here. We'll fill that with cheer wine.
Can I just say something before we move on? I want to thank my fellow commissioners for helping us make our parks tobacco-free in our county. It is one of those proven medical issues that is so important to the health and welfare of all of our citizens, but especially our children. I just wanted to say a special thank you. I serve on the Healthy Rowan Executive Committee, and it was one of our priorities this year, and so it's very nice to have this recognition.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I'll say something. I'm the liaison between the commissioners and the Parks and Rec Department. And Parks and Rec has never been against, excuse me, Parks and Recs Commission have always tried to support these issues. And we have always wanted to be a part of non-smoking and had signs up for years that asked folks not to smoke in the park. And of course, the technicality on this was that they wanted it to come from the commissioner that nobody could smoke at the parks. But the only reason that this wasn't done several years ago is that the enforcement of this, we in the Parks Department hire a lot of young folks, 14, 15, 16-year-olds, and one of the things that we never could come up with was a way of enforcement of having a 14-year-old come up and tell some guy in the back alley of the park somewhere that he's going to have to throw that cigarette out. So I hope you folks do not feel that the parks for years have been against this in any way. We never have. And the commissioners this year decided that we would go through with this, and the parks are supporting it all the way. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that even though they recognize the parks for doing this, they have always supported non-smoking in the parks.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, we'll move on to our next item on the agenda. It is a quasi-judicial hearing for CUP 05-18 for North Point Development, LLC. For those of you who intend to testify during this, if you could come forward and our clerk will administer the oath to you. I have a required statement that I have to read. The hearing for consideration of CUP 05-18 is now in session and will focus on an application submitted by North Point Development, LLC to construct an approximate 692,000 square foot building for warehousing and distribution related uses on Rowan County tax parcel 052-096, located at the southeast corner of I-85 and Long Ferry Road intersection. If anyone present feels that any member of this board may have a conflict of interest in hearing the case, please address the board now prior to any testimony or information being presented. When the board enters into deliberations to decide the case, no further testimony may be presented. The board will render one of the following three decisions. 1, approve the permit as requested or with additional conditions. 2, continue the request. Or 3, deny the request. All parties who plan to testify in this case may come forward and be sworn in. Those who testify must state their name and address at the podium for the benefit of the board's clerk. All material presented must be given to the clerk and will become part of the record. This board can only accept sworn testimony. No hearsay evidence is admissible. And Ed Muir will provide a staff report. Ed?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, my name is Ed Muir. I'm the Rowan County Planning Director. My work address is 402 North Main Street here in Salisbury. As the Chair indicated in the opening remarks, this is the staff report on an application submitted by North Point Development for tax map 52, parcel 96. This is the site plan along with the aerial photograph that was provided by the applicant. The highlights here are that it's a 690,000 plus square foot building, expandable in the future by 109,000 or thereabouts. The proposal for this building is warehousing and distribution. As you know from previous staff reports, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail unless the board has specific questions. The applicant is here as well, but I'm going to touch on a couple highlights for procedural matters in this report. So, looking at the site, it's situated here at the southeast corner of Long Ferry and I-85. I think everyone here that has been attuned to economic development efforts in the past decade or so know this site as the Trevi site. It's received a lot of interest from the county as well as outside sources looking at potential development. Site borders the Aldi distribution to the south. On its eastern flank is a manufactured home park that is zoned an 85 ED1 district, which is also poised for some future development. There's some commercial here in this transport operation. City of Salisbury has a water tower here. This frontage along Long Ferry is zone CBI, and we'll see in just a little bit how Spencer and East Spencer zoning jurisdiction border it to its west. In 2000, the county initiated an effort to study some northern tracts that border I-85 to gauge their economic development potential, and really what came out of that was our 85 ED designations. In fact, this particular parcel at that time was zoned 85 ED1. And just for reference, that is this tract here that we're talking about. In 2016, the current property owners approached the county about changing that to the 85 ED2 designation. And what that really did, that expanded the uses in the ED1 district to allow distribution and warehousing, which is what we're talking about tonight. As I mentioned earlier, you can see the differences between Spencer's zoning jurisdiction here and the town of East Spencer that borders it to the south. Just a little change in perspective here. It shows you that the site, when it borders the Aldi Distribution Center here, also has about 10 acres worth of floodplain along Town Creek as well. The site plan does not encumber that, so that should not be an issue for future development. We'll transition into the staff review. These are the typical conditional use criteria that we address as staff. The first is adequate transportation to the site exists. If you had a chance to read the report, you'll know that the site has over 1,000 feet of frontage along the I-85 service road, which provides it direct access to Long Ferry Road. Long Ferry Road is considered a major thoroughfare. It has a design capacity of 11,300 vehicles per day. In 2016, the traffic count along that road segment was 4,700 vehicles per day. The second is the use will not significantly detract from the character of the surrounding area. I mentioned previously that as a staff and as a county, we've looked at the economic development potential of this area since 2000. In fact, the site was changed to a broader economic development district in 2016. This board, I believe, did review that and approve it as well. Backing that up as well is Area 2 of the East Rowan Land Use Plan. It supports industrial and commercial uses along the 85 corridor, provided they're within 1 mile of that corridor. Hazardous safety conditions will not result. These are the 4 broad standard industrial classification categories that are being considered here. 42 is motor freight transportation and warehousing. 47 is transportation services, and then 50 and 51 get into the durable and non-durable goods for wholesale trade. One thing I would point out is that we have a specific listing of uses that internally we consider heavy impact uses. Those are SIC 51 categories, but they're more specifically 516 and 517. Those are going to be chemical and allied products and petroleum-related products. This request does not include those. Although it is a conditional use, they're not specifically seeking them for this particular application tonight. The use will not generate significant noise, odor, glare, or dust. Aside from the construction operations to get the building built, the buffering and setbacks should minimize any of these impacts. You see from the site plan that's in your packet that the operations will be conducted within the building. Excessive traffic or parking problems will not result is the 5th criteria. We're going to defer to DOT as we always do for driveway permitting and access. This is a pretty sizable building. We're talking about 700,000 square feet. We're talking trucks. We're talking employees, 3 shifts. Our general review of the site indicates about 4,000 trips per day based on warehouse traffic, and then potentially all employee trips at about 1,300. Again, these are going to be evaluated by DOT. The ADT, or the design capacity of Long Ferry Road we talked about previously, you put these with it, it still should be able to accept this project. And the last, the use will not create significant visual impacts. Referring to the applicant's site plan, there's going to be an undisturbed buffer along the eastern and the southern borders, and the visibility from Long Ferry Road should be minimal as well. So there are other zoning criteria that apply to the economic development districts. I would refer you to the last column there. You will see that just about every one of them from our staff considers these to be compliant with these criteria. Item L is loading and storage areas. That one is a little bit different. The requirement there is that operations be located to the rear or side of the building. If you note from their applicant site plan, they have proposed to work with DOT to close or shorten that access road to provide them better security and better access. This should satisfy that item. Unfortunately, that can't take place tonight. That's another legislative process that this board will hear from the applicant at some point in the future. So I don't think there's a whole lot of concern from us on that particular item. So moving forward, these are our staff recommendations, but I would also tell you that these are just general recommendations that apply to just about every project that comes through our door. They're going to have water and sewer. They're going to work with Salisbury Rowan Utilities, as well as our staff and the EDC folks are coordinating that service. Building plans, those are going to go through our building inspections department. Erosion control plans, just due to the nature of the site, the building is about 16 acres, I believe, under roof. The requirement statewide is that if you have a disturbed area over an acre, you're going to have an engineered plan. This obviously falls in there. I mentioned the DOT permitting. Phase 2 stormwater is something that they're going to have to be required to process through the state. Again, I mentioned the heavy impact land uses are not part of this application. And then they just have the general compliance with the site plan, and that'll be something that we work with them on at staff level. We've been through these before, and I've said this many times, but this is a quasi-judicial hearing. Once I finish, the applicant, Mr. McDonald, is here, and he can add any comments that he wishes, and then provide the public any opportunity for any comments or observations they have, and then finish up. I'll be glad to answer any questions. Then you would close the hearing, and then you'd make a decision. And I have given the chair kind of the protocol for making these motions. Shane is very diligent about this, and I probably haven't been as well in the past. But you need to make 4 separate motions. You'll make these 3 on these findings, and then you will finally make a decision whether or not to issue the permit. So are there any questions before you open the hearing? Great. Thank you.
All right, Mr. McDonald, would you like to, yeah. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Chairman Eads, members of the commission. I just want to thank you for your time tonight. I'm here to answer any questions. I'll say that I'm with North Point Development. We're a real estate development company that largely builds industrial development, whether it's warehouse, distribution center, manufacturing. That's primarily what we do. We've been looking in this market for quite a long time, I'd say at least the past year, from Greensville to Greensboro. And we settled on this site because we really like it. We really like the community. We really like Rowan County, town of Salisbury, or city of Salisbury. And it's really been welcoming and inviting. And we're pursuing a particular user for the site, and that's why you see the CUP application today. It's one that it's a user that's been well received in multiple communities. We've worked with this particular user before. We're excited to hopefully have them come to this community, and we're excited about the opportunity to develop in your community. So I just want to say thank you for this opportunity.
Excellent. Any questions for Mr. McDonald? No, there's probably a lot, but.
Yeah. Well, I would actually say that Mr. Muir covered almost everything that I would actually add to the conversation, and did an excellent job. We've worked with staff from probably about July on to get an understanding of what it takes to develop in this community and what's needed. Surely we are going to take every single use or impact that would be detrimental, right, to the area into consideration, and hopefully use this as an opportunity for future economic development and growth in the I-85 corridor.
Well, thank you. I'll say that we've been talking with Mr. McDonald and his associate, Bob Good, for some time, and I can say that I've not, there's been a tremendous amount of communication that's come from this pair, more so than I know any other deal that I've been involved with. I just get emails from Ian, here's what we're doing now, we're coming to town, we'd like to meet, you know, what can we do? So they've been, they have gone over and above anything that I've experienced, and I really appreciate the professionalism and communication you've had with us. And
I'd like to thank you as well, and Rod and Scott. I'd like to thank them for their time. You know, they really understand this community, and like, look, I'll be honest, it's kind of nice to get away and come here. It's
I'm
nice,
sorry, I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
Yeah. I'll take every opportunity I can get to be in town. I did enjoy the cheer wine, right?
We gave him cheer wine last week,
Yeah.
and he came in with.
It was my first taste, and I can't get enough.
Yeah, he came in with coffee, and we took his coffee from him and gave him cheer wine and said, so the as it goes, you can't drink cheer wine and not smile, so don't blow it for us. And he took a big old sip and big smile. And
it was shared. It was around the table.
Yeah, that was a little gross, but.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that was okay.
We all work together, you know.
That's good.
Close quarters.
That's good. Well, and we've talked to them about coming back and letting us show them. This is a very, very active development firm. They're developing all across the United States, from Kansas.
We're Pennsylvania to California, east to west coast. I'll say I saw 1753 on here. I think this might be I would say the richest, oldest community that we've developed in. So that's a little bit intimidating. We've walked, you know, we've seen your the historic markers in town. You know, kind of walk downtown Salisbury, and it's rich, you know. So it's really nice to be part of.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you for being here. We know you flew in today for this, so thank you.
Well, happy to fly in.
Yeah, appreciate it. All right. All right, we're going to open the floor now for public comment for a hearing. So if we have anyone that would like to speak, OFE?
Yes.
If you
F.E. Eisenhower. I'm the acting town administrator with the town of East Spencer, the business address 105 South Long Street. I just also wanted to come up and talk about the things that East Spencer are doing in the same area, and everything that's being talked about here fits in with our work that we're also doing the next exit down. And so it is adjacent to the Audi plant, so we certainly have a bit in this situation of just knowing that it is adjacent to our city limits. And we certainly want to come and support anything that's going to be bringing that type of development to the northern end of the county. And we certainly do hope that this actually encourages more. We certainly do have growth areas out there that we're also working with Scott and Rod on, and hopefully that this will be an impetus to help create some more growth in that area. Rising tide does float all boats, and so even though it may not be in East Spencer, it is still going to be a great help for us.
Well, thank you, F.E. We appreciate that. Got a nice text from Mayor Mallett, who was out of town. She wanted to be here and said she sends her support and was sending F.E. in her place. So thank you for being here. Mr. Powell.
Thank you. My name is Vernon Powell. I live in Greensboro. I represent Mr. Epting and Mr. Trevey, and I think Mr. Lyerly's back there, which they also have a portion of land that's involved in this, and just want to know that we offer our unconditional support for the development that's proposed. So did they.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. Anyone else?
I'd like to. Archie Gerald, my business address.
Hey, hold on 1 second.
My name is Archie Gerald, business address 923 North Long Street, East Spencer. I was on the Economic Development Commission from 1998 to 2004 and chaired it for a couple of years. So I was very heavily involved when we first started talking about this property going to this type use. And I'd like to say that I think everybody who was a part of that then would be very happy to see this happening. This is exactly what was talked about that many years ago about how this property could and should be developed. I also own property right across the interstate from it, along with the Fred Ash family, and I'd like to say that as property owners across the interstate, we are very much in favor of the development that's being done there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gerald. Is there anyone else? Last call? All right, then we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, any questions for Ed or staff? All right, if not, then we have 3 findings and then a final motion. And so we'll need to take these one at a time. Commissioner Pierce, would you provide the 3 motions for us?
Be happy to. Motion 1, that the development of the property is in accordance with the proposed conditions, will not materially endanger the public health or safety. Findings supporting this motion are the site will be the subject of all aspects of county development review process, and the building will be compliant with all aspects of the North Carolina Building Code. Access and traffic generated by this project will efficiently be managed and permitted by NCDOT. Make that formal motion.
Thank you. Commissioner Pierce, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And the second motion is that the development of the property is in accordance with the proposed conditions, will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property, and that the development is a public necessity. Findings supporting this motion are adjoining properties are likewise kind zoned to accommodate and recruit economic development projects, building investment, and job creation.
And that's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion 3, that the location and the character of the development in accordance with the conditions will be in general harmony with the area in which it is located, in general conformity with any adopted county plans. Findings support this motion are: the project is consistent with Area 2 recommendations of the Eastern Land Use Plan and the zoning map change for the parcel approved in 2016.
And that's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Then motion?
Motion 4 is to approve the issuance of CUP 5-18 based on the project's compliance with the general evaluation and other zoning criteria presented tonight and subject to the items referenced in the staff presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner. That's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So motion, all motions pass. Congratulations to all of us, and look forward to seeing you here swinging a hammer soon. All right. Thank you, Ian.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Scott and Rod, thank you. Vernon, good luck. Thank you, guys. Make sure he gets a cheer wine before he leaves. All right, item number 5, Mr. Poplin, quasi-judicial hearing for CUP 06-18. And likewise, if anyone intends to speak during our public comment time, come forward and be sworn in, and I have to read another speech. The hearing for consideration of CUP 06-18 is now in session and will focus on an application submitted by Nicole Sherrill to construct a residential storage facility on tax parcel 236125 located on Ritchie Road. If you feel that any member of the board may have conflict of interest in hearing the case, please address the board now prior to any testimony or information being presented. When the board enters into deliberations to decide the case, no further testimony may be presented. The board will render one of the following three decisions. They'll approve the permit as requested or with additional conditions, continue the request, or deny the request. All parties who plan to testify in this case may come forward and be sworn in. Those who testify must state their name and address at the podium for the benefit of the board's clerk. All material presented must be given to the clerk and will become part of the record. This board can only accept sworn testimony and no hearsay evidence is admissible. Aaron, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we have a quasi-judicial hearing for CUP 06-18. I have the applicant, Nicole Sherrill, right here behind me. And this is for a residential storage facility on tax parcel 236-125. So go ahead and just take a look at the zoning in the area. The tax parcel is highlighted here. It's an 11-acre parcel off of Ritchie Road, which is just off of Saw Road, close to 152, and is currently zoned RR. Go ahead and take a look at the site here. As you can see, this parcel doesn't have any road frontage on Ritchie Road, but it does have an access via an easement that goes along this southern property line. And they're proposing to build a 2,400 square foot storage building prior to building their house. So taking a look in the area, you can see it's pretty rural in character. A few houses around there. This site right here is looking back towards, is the actual road that leads back to the property. And then it's just beyond those trees there. This is the submitted site plan with the 40 by 60 barn located here. And then with a residential storage facility, there are 8 different criteria that it must meet. And that is B and fee simple ownership, which it is. The structure shall be compatible construction with the surrounding area. The maximum size allowed is 3,000 square feet, and this is 2,400. No outdoor storage is allowed. None is proposed. The minimum lot size is the same as a single-family residence, and this is much greater at 11 acres as opposed to a half acre. The storage of vehicles shall not be in the front yard. There's none proposed. Outside lighting shall be designed to prevent direct glare on adjoining residences. There's none proposed. And the setbacks are the same as a single-family dwelling, which is 30 feet from the front, 10 from the sides and rears, and it will meet that. Then there are the 6 conditional use criteria. Adequate transportation access to the site exists. The use will not significantly detract from the character of the surrounding area. Hazardous safety conditions will not result. The use will not generate significant noise, odor, glare, or dust. Excessive traffic or parking problems will not result. And the use will not create significant visual impacts for adjoining properties or passerbys. And then with the conditional use procedures, you've been provided with some example findings of fact. There'll have to be a separate motion for each finding, and then a motion to approve, deny, or table CUP 0618 for a 2,400 square foot residential storage facility on Rowan County Tax Parcel 236-125. If you have any questions, both me and the applicant are here for you.
Do you know if there's going to be any well or septic put down on this property for this structure? Okay.
Any other questions for Aaron? All right, Aaron, thank you. Would the applicant like to say anything?
My husband and I are planning to build a home, and we're not ready to build the house yet, but we want to go ahead, and as we're ready to move from one house to another, we would much rather build something we're planning to build anyway, just not, the timing hasn't worked out with the house. So in terms of us selling our house, and we'd rather build our barn now and put our stuff in storage than rent a storage unit for the next year. So that's the reason for the permit.
All right, any questions for the applicant? All right, go ahead, I'm sorry, no, go ahead.
There isn't a deeded right-of-way back all that way?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, if no other questions, then we will open the floor for public comment. If there is anyone that would like to comment for or against? All right, seeing none, we'll close the floor to public comment. And if there's any discussion, we'll have that now. If not, then I believe Commissioner Caskey has three findings of fact.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to make a comment that I've spoken with the county attorney. This is about the 4th or 5th request we've had so far this year for this same type designation. And I would like to see us maybe turn this over to the planning board and see if there shouldn't be some type of exceptions. I mean, this is 11 acres of property, and they're wanting to build a facility for storage. You know, it's out there in the middle of nowhere where it's not going to bother anybody, and I think there should be something in our ordinance that separates building in a development or building in an area where it has some type of covenants in it versus somebody building on rural agricultural land way out in the county. And I think this would be a lot easier for the planning department to go ahead and put these things through for us. I'm not saying it doesn't need to come back in front of us just to make sure it's okay, but I think we should be able to look at maybe streamlining this process, because I see this coming more and more, and I don't think it's going to slow down. And you know, maybe we just need to take a look at it, make it easier on our property owners to get what they need.
That was something that All right, settle down. Stirring up the crowd, Commissioner Pierce.
Well, as usual.
As usual, yeah. You know, I had written myself a note on here, so this didn't go through planning board? Okay, gotcha. All right, I think that's a great idea. I don't know if you want to make a formal request.
I'd like to do it after we pass this.
Yeah, okay. All right, Commissioner Caskey.
I move the development of the property in accordance with the proposed conditions will not materially endanger the public health or safety. Fact, the request complies with all 8 specific requirements identified in section 21-60, subset 10 for residential storage facilities. Fact, the proposed structure is subject to compliance with applicable building code standards.
Mr. Caskey made that in the form of a motion.
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I move that the development of the property in accordance with the proposed conditions will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutted property, or that the development is a public necessity and, fact, no material evidence was presented suggested this request would injure property values.
You have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I move that the location and character of the development in accordance with the proposed conditions will be in general harmony with the area in which it is located and in general conformity with any adopted county plans. Fact, the proposed building square foot is less than the allowable 10% of the total size lot for accessory structures on residential development lots.
It's a motion. Do we have a
Second.
second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We have a motion to approve CUP 06-18.
So moved.
A
Second.
motion and a second and a third. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Good.
All right. Motion passes. Congratulations. Have a barn raising. We'll do a ribbon cutting. Yeah. All right. Yeah, you're welcome. All right.
I'll make my motion.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to request that the planning board look at this ordinance that we keep having come in front of us, restricting garages being built on property without residential structures, and see if there's a way that we could draw a conclusion based on acreage and confinement not tied to development or developments with ordinances restricting this, so that we can streamline this process for our citizens.
It's very good. Good idea. Thank you. And that's a form of motion. We have a second for that.
Second.
Great. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Well, hold on.
Repeat that motion.
If I can.
No, I think he was kidding.
I didn't
Do you want to hear it again?
No, I don't.
play the
Okay.
tape back.
All right, guys. It's the mashed potatoes talking now. All right, we had a motion and a second, and we voted, so we're done. So, okay. All right, so we'll move on to public hearing for Z05-18.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we got public hearing for Z05-18, a request from Donnie Gibbs Jr. from RA to CBI for tax parcel 230-024, further reference as 9275 North Carolina 152 Highway. And I have the applicant here. Mr. Gibbs is sitting right here in the back. So this is a 2.16 acre piece of land, which is right there close to the Rowan-Iredell line. It was purchased by Mr. Gibbs back in 2000, and he built his race shop on there in 2001, and that was permitted as an SR business, which is essentially a business that in the RA district that is owner adjacent. So it's allowed with some special requirements. And it is located in the Cottle Creek Watershed 2 area. So taking a look at the land use plan, we're talking about Area 3 right here on that cusp with the commercial/industrial corridor. And with Area 3, it does recommend highway businesses, but it does encourage those near community nodes. And then with the Watershed 2, it has a 40,000 square foot minimum lot size for residential development, and then it's a 12% built upon area for commercial uses, unless you get an SNIA permit to go up to a maximum of 60 or 70%. One thing that I'd like to talk about is Section 21-141, which is creating a non-conforming use based on a family business. And with this SR business, the current owner and the applicant, he's looking at selling it. So that would get rid of the owner adjacent for that business. And with that, it would become a legal non-conforming use. So the operations would allow to continue. It would just not be conforming anymore. And then I also want to take a look at 21-135C. And this is any non-conforming use can be extended, enlarged, or replaced with a special use permit being issued by the Board of Commissioners. And there's some criteria for that, that there's no increase in operational area, that there's no greater nonconformity with respect to dimension restrictions such as setback requirements, and that there's no significant adverse impact on surrounding properties. And all that would be required for issuing a special use permit. So then going back, taking a look at the zoning in the area, as you can see, there's about a 100-acre industrial development that is right adjacent to this site, and there's a neighborhood business with a conditional district just a couple hundred feet away from the site as well, with everything else in the surrounding area being zoned RA. So taking a look out there, if you look west, you can see just this making of that of a restaurant, which is the NB use. Looking north, there's an abandoned subdivision. It has 2 houses in it and since has abandoned the plat. And then looking east, you can see there's Padula. Then taking a look at the site, you can see there's a 5,000 square foot metal building that was permitted to commercial code, which is currently a race shop. And then just some more uses surrounding that race shop. And then looking over, you can see the current house on the property. So over here, this is just an aerial of the site. As you can see that you got the house on one portion and then the race shop on the other. And it currently does go over the 12% allowed for a commercial use in the built upon area. So any further development of that property would require an SNIA permit. So let me take a look at the compatibility of uses. So with RA, most things that are going to be permitted with the SR requirements, which are the owner adjacent. And then with the CBI, it's one of our more open districts, and just about a lot of uses are permitted in that district. Potential impacts on facilities. NC 152 highway has a 15,100 vehicle per day design capacity. And in 2016, that stretch was at 9,800 vehicles a day. The Planning Board adopted this following statement of reasonableness, and this statement of consistency was also adopted. And then it also was approved by the Planning Board. And then just some comments before opening the hearing. The property is adjacent to a recognized commercial industrial area. The property contains an existing business. The use of the property is currently conforming. The 2 current uses on the property, the single-family dwelling and the race shop, are permitted uses by right in the CBI district. The Western Area Land Use Plan recommends highway businesses along North Carolina U.S. highways other than 2970. Future development at the site will require an SNIA permit, and the business would become a legal non-conforming use if the owner sells the property and it's not rezoned. And then you'd need to adopt a statement of reasonableness, a statement of consistency, and then approve, deny, or table Z0518. And if you have any questions, both me and the applicant are here.
Does the applicant live in that house?
Mm-hmm.
So are you just going to sell the, maybe he ought to come forward.
No, I'm going to sell it on the house. I'm going to sell it one piece.
Okay. Yeah, come on forward so we can get you on audio. So you're selling the house and the business?
Yeah, I'm going to sell it as a complete package, yeah.
As a package?
Yeah, that way whoever buys it can still live in the house and keep it residential right there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You still in the race business?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buying the drag strip took all of my time. So.
Got a drag strip?
Yeah, so
Well,
my plans is to move the shop to the drag strip. I'm going to build a shop out there so I can keep everything right out there.
Where's the drag strip?
Corner from my shop on Wilkerson Road.
Is it still in Rowan County?
Yeah, yes.
All
yeah.
right.
So I'll be back for a lot more stuff there. So
All
I got
right.
a lot of stuff I want to do there, a lot of improvements. So turn the place around really a lot.
Could we get your name and your address, please?
My name?
Yeah, for
Donnie.
public record.
Donnie Gibbs, Jr. Yeah.
Could have maybe we could do commissioner drag race out there for charity or
We can
something.
hook you up. Yep.
I got what you need.
But I'm afraid,
Wait a minute, this is
I'm
like
afraid
the
that
one
Commissioner
right here.
Pierce, has got that one already wrapped up.
That's
So,
right.
Commissioner Pierce, we'd like to present you with
Trophy already.
Well, don't fill it full of cheer wine now.
I just bought me a diet cheer wine on the way. You got to have it.
sounded like a good idea, but
Well,
I'm glad to see the drag strip growing.
I'm turning it around. It's come a long way in less than 2 years. I mean, it's my second year into it, so I have nothing but good plans for it. It's in good hands now. I know y'all have heard of a lot of bad issues in the past with the previous owners, but it's in really good hands now.
Good to hear.
well, Commissioner Green and I don't talk about good hands, so
There you go.
anyway. All right, do we have any other questions for Donnie? All right, thank you, Donnie.
Thank you.
All right, we'll open up the floor for any public comment, if there's anyone that has anything to say for or against, or neutral. All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment, and I guess I would ask you, are we using statement of reasonableness and consistency on page 4? Is that acceptable? All right. Any discussion, commissioners? If there's none, then I'll offer up a statement of reasonableness in accordance with Section 21362J of the Rowan County Zoning Ordinance, and after due consideration, the Planning Board advises the Z05-18 request is reasonable and in the public interest based on the following. The tract is adjacent to an industrial district. It is an established commercial use and is located along North Carolina 152 Highway, which is a major corridor. Make that in the form of a motion.
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then statement of consistency, Z05-18 is consistent with the Western Area 3 Land Use Plan based on the following. While the land use plan recommends highway business, the tract is adjacent to a 100-acre industrial district. It is located along a major thoroughfare. It is an established business and a continued use of an existing building. Therefore, the adoption of Z05-18 is reasonable and in the public interest based on the following. The land is adjacent to a 100-acre industrial district. It's located along a major thoroughfare. It is an established business and a continued use of the existing building. And make that in the form of a motion.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And as a side note, the Planning Board passed this unanimously. So I make a motion that we approve Z05-18. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, good luck to you. Yeah, good luck to you, okay?
Yep, thank you. Let me know when you're ready to put that race together. Get everybody in line. We'll do it.
See you Saturday.
Yeah, my Suburban, I don't think will make it down the... All right, another public hearing.
All right.
Do y'all want to take an hour break before we do this one? See those folks saying no, please. All right, public hearing for Z06-18. Aaron?
All right. We got a public hearing for Z06-18, a request from CBI with a conditional use district to RA. The owner and applicant, Stephen White, is right here. And this is for tax parcels 126-026 or 330 Beaver Loop. So this is a 16.42 acre parcel that has 3.22 acres of it zoned commercial business industrial with a conditional use district. And that is for the use of a paintball field. And this was rezoned back in 2001. And with such a use, when you're a conditional use district, that's the only allowed use. And the owner no longer wants to do that, and he'd like to just go back to RA. So we're taking a look at Area 3 of the Eastern Land Use Plan. If you take a look at the site here, you can see that right in the middle is where the conditional use district is, where everything else surrounding it is RA. So taking a look there at the site, you can see there's a little bit of industrial activity headed towards 152. And then otherwise, it's mostly rural in nature and a few residents. And then if you look at the property itself, you can see that it's pretty much empty with a barn in the back there. Over here, we just got another aerial shot of the site. And then take a look at the compatibility of uses. Currently, the only allowed use in that site is the paintball field. And then if he returns to RA, its residential uses will be permitted by right. And then the other SR uses as well. And then looking at potential impacts on facilities, there's no traffic data for Beaver Loop. And then the planning board adopted this statement of consistency. A statement of reasonableness was not necessary because it was surrounded by RA. And then just some comments. The property right now is vacant in that portion, and there's only the one allowed use for the property. So with procedures, we need to adopt a statement of consistency and then approve, deny, or table Z0618. If you have any questions, both me and the applicant are here.
Questions for Aaron? Would the applicant like to say anything?
No, I'm good.
All right.
Any questions?
So y'all tired of shooting people out there and want to go back to?
Yeah, very well, not
Yeah.
you know, 12-year phase there.
Well, good. All right. If there's no questions for Aaron or for the applicant, then we will open the floor for public comment. We'll close the floor to public comment. And any discussion, commissioners? Does anyone have?
You want a statement of
Go ahead,
consistency?
please, Commissioner. Thank you.
I make a motion on the statement of consistency that Z0618 is consistent with the Eastern Land Use Area 3 Land Use Plan based on the following. The use is consistent with the existing land use regulations and occupancies of the surrounding area. It is compatible with its existing utilization of the roads and is consistent with the county's objectives. Furthermore, the adoption of Z-06-18 is reasonable and is in the public interest based on the following. The use is consistent with the existing land use regulations, occupancies of the surrounding area, and is compatible with existing utilization of the roads.
All right, that's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. And I make a motion to approve Z06-18.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Got another one.
This is my last one.
Sure is.
All right, so this is the public hearing for Family Subdivision Waiver 02-18. The current owner of tax parcel 240-084 is Ray Parks, and the applicant is Jeff Parks, who are both here in attendance. Mr. Parks is looking at getting a family subdivision waiver to the definition of an immediate family member. The current owner.
Thank you, Mr. Wyatt.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the current owner, Ray Parks, is his second cousin. It's his father's cousin. And so that doesn't meet the immediate family member definition. And so he's requesting a waiver to allow for a division between these two family members. So the parcel out here is off of Parksfield Drive, and it does have some road frontage off of Wright Road. And the applicant is looking at dividing the property like this, with him building and accessing off of Wright Road. Now, with the family subdivision ordinance, he would still be required to have that 20-foot easement towards Parksfield Drive, which already exists. And then with a family subdivision waiver, it has to meet 3 criteria. The nature of the proposed subdivision. The proposed subdivision is a family subdivision resulting in 1 new parcel. The existing land use in the vicinity. The surrounding land uses are residential and agricultural. The number of persons to reside or work on the proposed subdivision, and each lot will be deeded as follows. Ray Parks, which is his second cousin, will maintain ownership of the residual tract, And then Jeff Parks is looking at getting the other half of that acreage. And then the probable effect on the proposed subdivision upon traffic conditions. There's no traffic information for Parksfield Drive, but Wright Road has a traffic capacity of 9,500 vehicles a day, and as of 2016, it had 2,000 vehicles a day. And then just a couple of comments. All the family subdivision requirements are still applicable, so it would still have to be deeded to Mr. Parks, and he'd be the only one allowed to pull building permits and zoning permits for that parcel. And that Mr. Parks does plan to access off of Bright Road. And with this, you just have to approve, deny, or table the request.
No statements?
Nope.
Okay. All right, would any of the cousins like to say anything? No? All right, any question for Aaron or for our applicant?
Aaron, is Parksfield Road, is it a state maintained road?
It is not. That is a private drive.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, if none, we'll go to public hearing. Anyone would like to speak during public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment. And do we have a motion to approve FSW 02-18?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, guys. Aaron and Ed, I know you're welcome. No, Aaron, how long you been here now?
I just hit 3 years, 10 days ago.
Well, congratulations. We had, you guys are doing a really good job of putting these together, and makes what we have to do here go a lot smoother. So Ed, you're teaching Grasshopper well, and so good job, Aaron, and Ed, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, well done.
Aaron.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Get down to the.
Leslie, you're on.
We're in a new fiscal year, and so the first graph shows revenues, which are sitting at $1 million. And just to explain that one more time, our three largest revenue sources are property taxes, sales tax, and federal and state grants. Property taxes are levied in July, and we do start receiving tax collections in July. But at the end of July, at the end of every month, Tax Administration Department sends reports to the Finance Department, which shows us how much was levied during the month and how much was collected per their reports, what they've input into their system. We take that information and reconcile it to the cash actually received. When that reconciles, it gets journalized as revenue in our software, in the financial software, so that's always a month delayed. So everything that we actually deposited during the month of July shows as revenue in the following month. So you'll see that when we get to property tax. The sales tax that we received in the month of July was actually for the month of April. It's why it shows no revenue in this month. And then federal and state grants, almost all of them are reimbursement basis. So you go through a month and you spend money, and then we submit reports to receive reimbursement, and that revenue actually comes in the following month. So this is typical to only show $1 million in the first month of the fiscal year. The next graph.
Would that not affect June, though?
Excuse me?
The money that came in July that you spent, no, that you spent in June, do you have to go back and to make adjustments for June when you receive the money for the federal grants?
Yes, during the month of July, the federal monies that we receive do go back to the prior year, as do those sales tax. The sales tax that we receive in July, August, and September actually go back to the prior year.
So you can't close out until you get through August?
Yeah, really, we're closing out after September 15th, which is when we receive the final sales tax payment for the prior fiscal year. Yeah, and our audit will be in early October. Okay. The next shows expenditures, and they are in line with prior years at $7 million spent during the month of July, which is very similar to the prior years. The next graph shows property tax collections. And you can see from the chart, so we received about $21.6 million during this fiscal year in the month of July. A year ago, it was $22.7 million. The 2 years before that, it was $30.6 million and $32 million. And I don't know.
What have you done?
I look at it and go, what has Kelvin Bird done over in tax administration? But prior to fiscal year 2018, the mortgage companies, several of them approached Kelvin and asked if they could wire money to the county. They wanted to set up that process. So we did so, and the first year of that was 2018. And it just so happens that they are wiring a large amount of money the first or second business day in August. So by the time I look and go, whoa, these numbers aren't what I want them to be, I can see those large deposits having come in. So after the month of August, last year we were exactly where I would have expected us to be, and I'm anticipating that to be the case this year also.
Well, you know what's happening is they're sitting on the money.
They are sitting on the money.
Yeah.
They sure are.
Yeah.
Okay. The next graph shows sales tax, and here you can see that we're still reporting fiscal year 2018 through April. So we have 2 more months to receive it, what we'll receive in August and September. For the year, we're showing about a 2.5% increase over prior year. And the following graph just shows, again, the monthly collections and how erratic that can be. So that's the financial report, unless anyone has any questions.
Any questions? All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Item 10, budget amendments. So those were provided Wednesday. I had a chance to go through them. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. I'm going to make a motion that we enter closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143318.11A1 to consider approval of the minutes of the closed session held on June 18th, 2018, 143-318-11A6 for personnel matter, and 143-318-11A4 to consider a special joint meeting with Kannapolis City Council regarding an economic development matter at the Old Beatty Ford Road interchange and I-85. Need a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And as soon as we empty the room, we'll get started.
Shouldn't take long.
All right, we're back in a closed session. We have a motion to adjourn. Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Have a good night.